Go.
Your version was the seventh level of hell. I heard it was violence.
Virgil and Dante enter the inner part of the sixth circle that is beyond the city of Dis. As they are about to reach the seventh circle, the stench of hell overpowers them and they must retreat into the tomb of Pope Anastasius II. Virgil and Dante decide to stay at the tomb until they are adjusted to the smell. During their wait, Virgil decides to inform Dante on the seventh, eighth, and ninth circles of hell and their respective subsections. The seventh circle of hell contains the sin of violence, which in turn is divided into smaller subsections with the sins of violence against God, violence against oneself, and violence against a neighbor being presented. The first subcircle includes murderers, plunderers, and thieves. People with suicidal intentions or thoughts are located in subcircle 2, and blasphemers are located in the third subsection. The eighth and ninth circle represents the sins of fraud and betrayal. Dante attempts to grasp Virgil's atonements of the future circles, to which Virgil presents the works of Aristotle and his ethics about why hell is layered and how his dispositions explain the structures of the lower levels of hell. Aristotle's ethics mention the sins of incontinence, malice, and brutality, which are also visualized as the three beasts Dante meets when in the first canto. Dante has placed Pope Anastasius II in the sixth circle of hell because of the conflict that happened in Christian faith. A man named Photinus, a Greek heretic during the time of the Great Schism, had played a part in the Achaean heresy, which was unreligious to the Christian faith. Pope Anastasius II, who, at the Pope at the time, gave communion to Photinus and his false ways, therefore participating in the act of heresy, and was sent to this level of hell. Pope Anastasius II, often confused with Pope Anastasius I, the Byzantine emperor, was the Pope of Florentine. He was a historical figure who had committed heresy at the time and went against the Christian belief. Both are mentioned, as well as the Old Testament, which is a Christian holy book.
The sin for committing heresy or becoming a heretic is to be placed in a tomb with the lid open while the fires of hell burn both the body and soul. Heretics believe that the soul dies with the body, and this punishment seems to suit the sinner. Dante expresses his ideas of heretics as wrongdoers of the Christian belief are therefore punished by setting both body and soul in eternal flame. Had they been Christian, they would have been spared for their grace and judgment. Since Dante has a strong relationship with his faith, he shows to be somewhat passive-aggressive because of how these people betrayed their faith.
In Canto 11, Dante and Virgil discuss an ideology of Aristotle called Nicomachean Ethics, about the concepts of incompetence, malice, and brutality. This relates to the first canto because of the dark forest as well as the leopard, lion, and she-wolf. The leopard, lion, and she-wolf represent malice, brutality, and incompetence, respectively. These ideas are mentioned briefly and are further explored in the next few cantos. Another reference which is biblical is the Old Testament part of the Bible. The Old Testament is mentioned to prove the Pope's act of heresy.
The 11th canto takes place within the inner workings of the sixth circle and the border of the seventh. The journey of Dante and Virgil continues downwards towards the seventh circle of hell. The sixth circle of hell is named heresy.
So Dante had a very interesting point of view on the circles of hell. Basically, he was a really strong Christian, so he had a very interesting point of view. He really strongly opposed against heretics. Honestly, Dante thought the whole thing was actually meant for punishment. That's because it was. So the circles of hell were actually ranked from highest punishment to lowest punishment, low to top. And so Dante started from the top and meant Virgil. He really strongly opposed against the lower sins, though. That's why he hated heretics.